Today's video is fun. It's 1-0, but usually when I would say always, but usually when I provide games, even if it's like 1-0 or 3-0 or it could be rapid, I try to provide some ideas. Win or lose is okay, but it's sometimes ideas that seems to be like beneficial for people to to take a look at. So 1-0, it's all about speed sometimes, but still a lot of tactics, of course. I mean, tactics comes first, then speed, and then intuition. But it's something that is interesting about this game. There was a couple ideas it's worth looking at, or maybe one idea. But we'll take a look at this one. So I played d4, d5, and e4. Now it's interesting that I never brought this in my gambits section. In my one of the previous video, I talked about what kind of gambits could you play with white. The reason I did not bring this one up, even though it's a gambit, do you call this a black mare gambit? You could take the pawn, right? You could take on e4. The reason I did not bring it up a lot is because, or did not bring it at all in my previous video, is because people could play here and people could play here. They don't have to take on e4, and most of the time people would do this. So it's like different from, let's say, Smith Mora. Smith Mora, you play the Smith Mora, you could decline the gambit, but you can still play, you're still playing some kind of Smith Mora, and when you play e4, e5, f4, but you play King's Gambit, you may decline the gambit, but it's still you're playing the King's Gambit kind of stuff, right? Ideas, or you play the Smith Mora decline kind of ideas. In this gambit specifically, that when it comes to mind here, if you think about it, you're not really playing the black mare kind of gambit. You're not playing any kind of like black mare openings. It's just simply here you play a different opening, totally different opening. So here you play e6, which is a French, and here you play the caro. So you played two different openings. So for me, this is a gambit if you were to take, but it's not like you decline the gambit. You are declining the gambit, but you're playing a different opening. So it's equivalent for your opponent playing like like this kind of stuff. Right. So that's the point. The reason why I did not really recommend this opening, because it just simply could, steer the game into different opening completely, right? But you could still take the pawn, right? It's typically when you take the pawn, I could play this kind of stuff, but and try to regain some activity and play bishop c4. It could get fun, but people doesn't really have to take the pawn. So going back to the game, I mean, that's one of the ideas, right? That's one of the things to discuss about, in this game. So he played c6. He played the caro, which, it's a good opening. So I took the exchange variation. So I played this guy a lot, and the next move is kind of interesting by him. It's not this one. It's actually the next move here. So I played this guy a lot. Apparently, he plays this a lot. So we discussed in one of my previous videos how to play bullet chess and how to play blitz games, right? And I talked about the openings, like what kind of openings would you play. So this guy is discovering, or there's a selection of players that they play this kind of stuff all the time when it comes to bullets specifically. Like I don't think he's gonna play this in a blitz game. He might, but he's playing this in this kind of structure, so he could play knight f6, knight e4. The reason they do this, so they don't have to think about their moves. They just play like a structure, and it doesn't matter like if it works effectively or not. You could copy, like you could actually play knight e5. Whose idea is he's trying to play. Let's say if he's not really careful, let's say he plays like a lame move like this, he could actually play that. Um, so, and then if you play here, they just play knight f6, and then they could play like a variety of different moves. Whose idea is they still get to play knight e4 at some point. Like he's gonna play here castles and then maybe knight e4. So they play this structure, and he could do this with white. He's been doing this for white as well. Like it's kind of interesting. So he doesn't want to think about his moves. He's just playing a structure kind of thing. Not really opening per se, but it could be. I mean, it's kind of a structure in a way, but whether it works or not, it's I don't know. But the problem with this kind of structure is usually the bishop is not really active on c8. So I castled, and he played knight f6. Nothing shocking here. And I played rook e1 with the idea of keeping an eye on this. Rook belongs to the open file, but that doesn't like stopping him from coming here though. So bishop e7, knight c3. I felt like this move is not the greatest. Maybe it's like c4 and knight c3 makes sense in a way. and castles, and I played here. I don't know if was on my mind, but it's just developing the bishop. Maybe it's like bishop f4, more practical. But again, he's going to knight e4, whether we like it or not. And this is actually the idea: is to put a knight on e4, and you would have a hard time if you were to take here, just opening up, and then you don't want to really take here because this opened up for the rook activity. So I took on e7 anyway because he was attacking this one. So I take, and then knight e5. So I was like, you're not alone. You're not gonna play knight e4. I could also play knight e5. So I played here, and I played f3. This move now it's kind of a trouble for me. I was hoping for knight takes c3 because this seems to be like good situation for me. So let's say if he were to take, then this e6 becomes a problem. Maybe I could play c4. There's still a double pawn concern here, but maybe white is slightly active. Just for the fact that the bishop's still not really. He could still try this. But as soon as I played here, I knew this is wrong because he could actually take on e5. And as soon as he took on e5, I knew that this is trouble for me because I cannot really take back this way. And, then even taking this way does not really make a lot of sense in a lot of ways. But even if this is okay, he could still take here, right? So let's say if he were to take here, this structure, my pawns are really weak. You're looking at check and then he takes. So during the game, I was considering like, for some reason, I don't know why I was going for this. Like at some point, this was my idea is maybe to keep his bishop at c8 at the cost of a pawn. So maybe was on my mind. But this is good for black. I mean, this is actually very strong for black. The problem is not this one. Is actually, he's not going to take on c3. The problem is much stronger than that. It's actually queen c5. And this actually seems to be the huge issue because here, checkmate, right? And if you go the other way, guess what? We have a problem. And if you go here, it's checkmate. And if you go the other way, do we know where's the mate? Are you doing puzzle rush? You doing puzzles? That's mate. If you do a lot of puzzles, you would know this is something that it keeps repeating, right? That it repeats a lot, and you have to know about it. So I was a little bit surprised with this sequence. Then after the move, I figured out that that was okay for me, though. Meaning, that was okay because I take on e4. So I was like, this is okay. Because once he takes on here, you don't take with the queen, though, because taking with the queen would lead to this pawn grab here. It's a free pawn, central pawn, opening up for the rook. It becomes a pass pawn. So you have to take with a pawn. And I was like, this is good for me because typically the bishop's still stuck. And he doesn't have an easy time to go like here, because the pawn is under attack. So let's say you play bishop d7. This is actually a big issue, even though you have triple pawns, but you cannot take back, right? The queen would be taken. So this one is interesting. He went for this one, and I think it makes sense. This one makes a lot of sense because you want to connect the rook, open up the file for the rook, which is good, but still the tension's still happening on the center, so I'm still looking at pawn takes. And he plays here, and this one is fun, though. Maybe he's looking at queen f2, queen takes b2. The queen could check because the rook is now on f8, right? So I played g3, stopping queen f2. He played here. I played queen e2. I'm not sure if pawn takes was good because maybe bishop g4 is going to happen fast. I mean, it did happen fast somehow, but here I felt like after this move that I had to take this way. If I'm not mistaken, this is probably the move. He could still play bishop g4, but we may have a central pawn that makes a lot of sense here. I took here, and maybe the other one makes a lot of sense. And I think here the best move by white has to be here. So you're really grabbing the pawn, and you're sitting on d2. I don't think the attack here is... I don't think, even if we open up the computer, for example, here, you could see that after queen d2, this is actually okay for black. Excuse me, it's okay for white. Because actually, I'm up a pawn. The attack is not much going on. He has to deal with this pawn here as well to defend. So, this one, I played queen g2, which is a very lousy move. Just to go back. It is very lousy move. And this one is just simply, he could just takes, and that's a free pawn. So for me winning a free pawn, he's winning a free pawn. To my surprise, he actually did not go for it. He went for this. He felt like he has an attack, and if you have an attack and you have the queen on, then he felt like exchanging the queens is in favor for me, right? But the attack here is not really fast. Nothing much is going on. White could still defend. So he could have just went for the pawn, right? So that's the logical thinking. So I took here, he took here, and then I played queen, I think queen d2 after like a couple of tries. But the difference here, queen d2, in the previous line, I won a pawn. This one, not necessarily. But the real issue here for black, though, is maybe e4 is still like a pass pawn, right? So maybe after like queen c3 in some line, which I was able to do, potentially here, and then maybe pawn takes. This pawn e4 becomes a problem. The knight is very good on d5 as well. So he played queen h5, and I played rook f1 to try to to compete against this rook on f8. This move is losing, and pause the video and see if you have a tactic. If you pause the video and you found the tactic, that's good. If you did find it, you want to do more puzzles. It's funny that I did not find it. So the idea here is 97. Should you did pause the video, I'm assuming now we continue, is simply here and knight here. The problem is this rook is being covered to defend f3, and knight f5 is actually threatening mate. So if you try to defend the bishop, for example, you're getting checkmated. And it's the same thing whether you go, doesn't matter. So he has to lose an exchange, meaning that as soon as knight f5 happens, you do have to probably do this, right? And then you may move the bishop somewhere. But even then, it's still pretty lost. Supposedly like f6 or something, that should be winning. I'm just up in exchange. He doesn't have time for like here, perhaps. I don't even have to do this. Maybe just simply any kind of moves so he doesn't connect with queen d5. So I'm up in exchange here. I should be winning. As a matter of fact, here, just to give you an idea, this is +4, right? So any move could work. f6 is playable, just like I mentioned. So if you play queen d5, the computer is looking at this, king g8, rook f8. You're not really having anything. Queen h8, his king is in trouble before he gets to mate me on any of these diagonals. So, did not do it. I did not do it, folks. I did not do this move. I did not do it, which is very weird. I played here, but I had different idea in mind. I mean, this move is kind of interesting. I could have went with queen c5 as well, but I wanted to play it on e3 just to keep an eye on, keep this diagonal, keep this file, excuse me, like to keep an eye on rook takes f3. So let's say he moves his queen somewhere, like queen e5. You could take the bishop, right? Because it could take that way, the queen takes that way. So I wanted to have the queen on here. Then he took the pawn. That's actually the idea. Like I played here to set up an idea, like a tactic. And I was intentionally giving up this pawn. Now, and he actually spent a couple of seconds thinking about it. Like I remember, like you could see the clock, he was thinking about it, right? This good amount of time. If you see this is 31 seconds, it's 18 seconds by the time he played bishop takes c4. I found this to be remarkable because I actually felt like he had to like predict what's going on. Like this pawn is a free pawn or is it a sack of a pawn? It's actually a sack of a pawn. It's not a free pawn. I mean, it is trouble should you take this pawn. To my surprise, he spent some time and he took the pawn. Like he was basically saying, what has nothing. Now, could you pause the video, find the best tactic in this? Could you find a tactic here that wins the game instantly, really instantly here? So this one is funny, and I was setting this, this tactic. So the previous tactic did not work, but this one worked. And this one is more attractive, right? So pause the video, look for a possibility to win the game. Look for a way you could instantly win the game. Without black, black cannot really defend at all. No defense that black could do to save the game. So if you pause the video, you found the tactic. Very nice. I mean, that's very nice. This is this tactic that for me to find this one, I was able to find it when I was around here. When he played here, I was able to set it up. Like I was able to play when I played Queen A3. I had like a couple seconds on my clock, right? 2, 3 seconds. I was able to see it from here. I was able to spot the tactic from here. And this tactic usually it's a pattern. So should you do a lot of puzzles, you're able to see it. And that's actually what I mean by people practicing puzzles. You could see even in 1 minute chess, I was able to set up this tactic, seeing it, right? So it's like a pattern that I was able to apply. And even my opponent, he's 2600. He's not like 1600 for him not to see it though. But I was able to see it because obviously this pattern's it's like a more of a pattern than let's say that a puzzle. It's like it's something that pops in, right? It's like something that I knew ahead of time. When you do a lot of puzzles over the years, you would know that this is something that pops in as a tactic wise. So if you pause the clock, you found it really nice. Your tactics is pretty good, or it's up there. Really, like you're closing in to be a better player. If you haven't, that's okay. It may not be easy for a lot of people, like beginners, but it's really cool to see. So if you were looking at rook takes here, that's not the right continuation. The right continuation here is actually you sack your entire queen, which means you sack the entire queen for that. So queen takes f8, and that's you can see that why I had my queen over here. I could have went on c5, but I wanted the queen to be on a3 for the reasons I explained. That maybe he would see the tactic, and then he may have to move his queen somewhere, like queen e7. But then his bishop will be under attack, right? So that's the goal. When I have the queen on c5 and he plays queen e5, I don't win the bishop on f3. So because the rook is protecting it. So the idea is queen takes. And this is very forced, right? The queen is being defended by the rook. So that means he has to take, correct? And then obviously now you play this remarkable move is knight e7. And then the king cannot step in here because the rook obviously it's in the same file, right? So the king has to go back here, but then that's the issue. The rook left unprotected, and then this gives white checkmate. So that's what happened during the game, and that was not. I don't. Did he resign or did he? I just think he saw that and he did resign over here, 97. And that was brilliant. I mean, I'm assuming that's brilliant during the game, right? So that tactic doesn't happen a lot. It's very good when it happens, and you could see that even tactic like this could pops in during 1 minute chess. And hopefully you guys enjoy this one. It doesn't happen every day to play this kind of stuff, and when it's happened, it's usually nice. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one, and see you for the next videos.